My girlfriend's mom pulled me aside at Christmas and said, "I hope you know she's just using you until someone better comes along. You're not her type." Then she added, "But keep paying her bills while she figures it out." I just nodded and smiled. New Year's Day, her daughter woke up to eviction papers and a note. "Turns out your mom was right. I'm not your type." I, 32M, never thought I'd end up being someone's placeholder. The kind of guy women settle for while they're window shopping for something better. But that's exactly what her mother told me I was, standing in the kitchen at Christmas while everyone else was laughing in the living room. The whole thing started innocently enough. My girlfriend and I had been together for almost 2 years. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, and she seemed different from anyone I'd dated before. She was confident, outgoing, had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room when she talked to you. Within 3 months, she'd moved into my place. Said her lease was ending, and it made financial sense. I didn't think twice about it. I was falling for her, and having her around all the time felt right. The first few months were good. Great, even. We'd cook together, binge-watch shows, talk about the future in that vague way people do when they're not quite ready to commit but want to feel like they're heading somewhere. But slowly, things started to shift. She stopped contributing to groceries. Then utilities. When I brought it up, she said work had been slow and she was between projects. She was a freelance graphic designer, so the irregular income made sense. I told her not to worry about it. I made decent money as an engineer, and I didn't mind covering things temporarily. Temporarily turned into 6 months. Then a year. Her car payment, her student loans, her credit card bills. Somehow, I was covering more and more. She'd promised to pay me back when her next big project came through, but that project never seemed to materialize. Instead, she'd come home with new clothes, new shoes, expensive dinners with her friends that I wasn't invited to. When I asked about it, she'd get defensive, say I was being controlling, that she deserved to treat herself after working so hard. I started to notice other things too. The way she'd check her phone constantly and angle it away from me. How she'd go quiet when I walked into the room while she was texting. The sudden increase in girls' nights out that lasted until 3 in the morning. I'm not naturally a jealous person, but something felt off. Still, I didn't want to be that guy, the one who accused his girlfriend of cheating without proof. So I swallowed my doubts and kept going. Christmas came around, and she insisted we spend it with her family. I'd met them a handful of times before, her mom, her dad, her younger brother. They were nice enough, though her mother always had this way of looking at me like she was sizing me up, trying to figure out what her daughter saw in me. I chalked it up to typical mother protectiveness and didn't think much of it. We drove to her parents' house on Christmas Eve. The place was decorated like something out of a magazine, lights everywhere, a massive tree, the whole Norman Rockwell setup. Her dad was friendly, asked me about work and sports. Her brother was glued to his phone most of the time. Her mom was polite but distant, the way she always was with me. Dinner was nice. We exchanged gifts. Everything seemed normal. Then, after dessert, her mom asked me to help her in the kitchen. She said she needed someone to carry some heavy pots down from the top shelf. I followed her in, expecting a quick task. Instead, she closed the door behind us and turned to face me with this expression I couldn't quite read. It wasn't hostile, but it wasn't friendly either. It was almost pitying. She got straight to the point. She told me she hoped I knew that her daughter was just using me until someone better came along. Said I wasn't her type, that I was a nice guy, but not the kind of man her daughter really wanted to end up with. She said her daughter had always gone for a certain kind of guy, confident, ambitious, successful, and I didn't fit that profile. Then she added, almost like an afterthought, that I should keep paying her bills while she figured it out. That at least I was good for something. I stood there, holding a casserole dish, completely blindsided. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell her off, to defend myself, to ask her what gave her the right to say something like that. But another part of me, the part that had been quietly collecting all those little doubts and suspicions, recognized the truth in her words. So I just nodded and smiled. Told her I appreciated her honesty. She looked almost surprised, like she'd expected me to argue. Then she handed me the pots, and we went back to the living room like nothing had happened. The rest of the night, I couldn't focus. I sat on the couch, watching my girlfriend laugh and joke with her family, and all I could think about was what her mother had said. Was it true? Was I really just a placeholder, someone to keep her afloat until she found someone she actually wanted? I looked at her, really looked at her. and try to see if there was any genuine affection there, or if I'd been fooling myself this whole time. We drove home the next day. She chattered the whole way about how nice it was to see her family, how her mom had seemed to be in such a good mood. I made non-committal sounds and kept my eyes on the road. My mind was already working, piecing things together, planning. When we got back to the apartment, I told her I needed to run some errands. She didn't ask what for. She never did. I went to a storage unit I'd rented a few months back when I was thinking about decluttering the apartment. I kept the rental going even though I never ended up using it much. I started moving things, my important documents, some valuables, personal items I didn't want to lose. I worked quietly, methodically, over the next few days. She didn't notice. She was too busy with her phone, with her friends, with whatever else occupied her attention. I also started doing some digging. I checked our joint expenses, which I'd been tracking loosely but never really scrutinized. The numbers were staggering. Over the past year and a half, I'd covered nearly $40,000 in her expenses. Rent, utilities, car payments, insurance, credit cards, student loans, even her gym membership and subscription services. I'd been so focused on being supportive, on being the good boyfriend, that I hadn't realized how completely I was being taken advantage of. Then I checked something else. The lease. Our apartment was in my name only. She'd never been added as a tenant because her credit was shot when she moved in, and the landlord had been hesitant. I told her we'd add her later once her credit improved, but it never did, and I never pushed it. Now I was grateful for that oversight. I contacted a lawyer just to make sure I was on solid legal ground. He confirmed what I suspected. Since she wasn't on the lease and had no legal claim to the apartment, I could ask her to leave. I'd need to give her proper notice, follow the eviction procedures for my state, but it was doable. He drew up the paperwork. I signed it. Then I waited. New Year's Eve came. She wanted to go to a party with her friends. I told her to have fun, that I was tired and would stay home. She seemed relieved. She got dressed up, spent over an hour on her makeup and hair, and left without so much as a kiss goodbye. I watched her go, then I got to work. I packed up her things. Not hastily, not carelessly, but thoroughly. Clothes, toiletries, shoes, books, everything that was hers. I put it all in boxes and trash bags, stacked them neatly by the door. Then I changed the locks. I know that sounds harsh, but according to my lawyer, as long as I provided her with access to her belongings and followed eviction procedures, I was within my rights. I wrote a note, kept it simple, told her that her mother had been right. I wasn't her type, and she'd been using me. Said I was done being her ATM, and that she'd need to find somewhere else to live. Included a copy of the eviction notice, along with a detailed breakdown of every expense I'd covered for her over the past year and a half. Told her I didn't expect repayment, but I wanted her to see exactly how much she'd taken from me. Ended with a line that felt poetic in a bitter sort of way. Turns out her mom was right. I'm not her type. But I'm also not her bank anymore. I placed the note on top of her boxes and went to bed. I didn't sleep much. I kept waiting for her to come home, for the inevitable confrontation. But she didn't come home that night. I checked my phone in the morning, New Year's Day, and saw a text from her saying she was staying at a friend's place, that she'd be home later. Later turned out to be around noon. I heard her key in the lock, heard her struggle with it, realized it didn't work. Then the knocking started. I opened the door and stood in the doorway, blocking her view of the apartment. She looked confused, then annoyed. She asked me what was going on, why her key didn't work. I stepped aside and gestured to the boxes. Told her to read the note. She picked it up, scanned it, and her face went through about 5 different emotions in 10 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, anger, panic. She demanded to know what I was talking about, said I was being crazy, that she hadn't used me. I didn't argue. I just asked her to explain where her share of the rent had been for the past 18 months. Where her share of the utilities, the groceries, the everything had been. She stammered, tried to say she'd been planning to pay me back, that she was going through a rough time. I told her I didn't care anymore, that she had 30 days to find a new place, per the eviction notice, but that she couldn't stay here. She could pick up her things now, and I'd store the rest until she found somewhere to go. She tried a different approach. Started crying, saying she loved me, that we could work through this. I asked her point blank if she was seeing someone else. The way her face changed told me everything I needed to know. She denied it, but the denial was weak, unconvincing. I told her it didn't matter, that even if there wasn't someone else, There clearly wasn't room for me in her life beyond being a paycheck. Then she got angry, started yelling, calling me names, saying I was a petty asshole for doing this on New Year's Day. I stayed calm, told her the timing was intentional, that her mother had given me some advice at Christmas, and I'd taken it to heart. That seemed to catch her off guard. She asked what her mother had said. I smiled and told her to ask her mother herself. She called her mom right there, on speakerphone. I could hear her mother's voice, groggy and confused. My girlfriend, practically hysterical at this point, demanded to know what her mother had said to me. There was a long pause. Then her mother, clearly piecing it together, told her daughter that she'd simply been honest, that she'd told me what everyone in the family had been thinking, that I was too nice, too accommodating, and that her daughter could do better. The expression on my girlfriend's face was something I'll never forget. It was like she'd been slapped. She hung up on her mother and turned back to me, but whatever fight she had left in her was gone. She grabbed a few of the boxes, told me I'd regret this, and left. I helped her carry the rest down to her car. She drove away without another word. The next few weeks were strange. Quiet. I'd gotten so used to her being there, to the constant noise and chaos she brought with her, that the silence felt almost unsettling. But it was also a relief. I started to realize how much energy I'd been expending on someone who gave so little back. She texted me a few times, mostly logistics about her stuff. I kept it brief, professional. She tried a few more times to get me to reconsider, sent long messages about how we could fix things, how she'd change. I didn't respond. Then the messages stopped. About 3 weeks later, I got a call from her mother. That was a surprise. She apologized, said she hadn't meant to blow up her daughter's relationship, that she'd just been trying to look out for me. I told her it wasn't her fault, that she'd actually done me a favor. She asked if her daughter had found a place yet. I said I didn't know and didn't care. She went quiet for a moment, then told me I deserved better. I thanked her and hung up. My girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, moved out fully by the end of the month. She sent her brother to pick up the last of her things. I never saw her again. I heard through mutual friends that she'd moved in with some guy she'd been seeing on the side. The timeline matched up with when she'd started acting distant. I wasn't even surprised. A few months passed. I threw myself into work, started going to the gym more, reconnected with friends I'd neglected. I went on a few dates, nothing serious, but it felt good to be back in control of my own life. I realized how much of myself I'd lost trying to make that relationship work, trying to be enough for someone who'd never seen me as more than a temporary solution. One day, I ran into her at a coffee shop. It was awkward. She looked like she wanted to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I grabbed my coffee and left. I didn't know her anything, least of all closure. Looking back, I'm almost grateful for what her mother said. It was cruel, yes, and wildly inappropriate. But it was also the wake-up call I needed. I'd been so wrapped up in the idea of us, in the potential of what we could be, that I'd ignored all the signs that she was never really in it with me. Her mother's words stripped away the illusion and forced me to see the reality. I'm in a better place now. I'm dating someone new, someone who actually contributes, who treats me like a partner instead of a benefactor. We split everything down the middle, and it feels right. Equal. She asks me about my day and actually listens to the answer. She doesn't hide her phone or stay out until 3 in the morning. She doesn't make me feel like I'm not enough. Sometimes I think about that Christmas, about standing in that kitchen while her mother told me I wasn't good enough for her daughter. And I realized she was right, just not in the way she thought. I wasn't good enough to keep letting myself be used. I wasn't good enough to settle for someone who saw me as a means to an end. But I was good enough to walk away, to demand better for myself. That's the thing about being someone's placeholder. Eventually, you realize you deserve to be someone's priority. And if they can't see that, if they can't appreciate what you bring to the table, then they don't deserve a seat at it. The eviction papers were just the start. They were my way of reclaiming my life, my space, my self-respect. Her mother thought she was warning me, maybe even helping me see reality. Instead, she handed me the key to my own freedom. I changed more than just the locks that night. I changed my entire perspective on what I deserved from a relationship. And that's worth more than any apology, any second chance, any promise to change. She woke up to eviction papers and a note. I woke up to a new life. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.